Does Black life matter? I am Sybrina Fulton, and I would give anything to hear my baby's voice again. I would give anything to hear him say, "Mama, I'm home." My son was murdered while visiting his father in Sanford, Florida. They were watching the NBA All-Star game at his father's fiance's house in a gated community. My cupcake. I called him that. He enjoyed visiting his father. His cousins lived nearby. Trayvon and his cousins were like brothers. I was at work when I received a phone call from Tracy, Trayvon's father, saying that he couldn't find Trayvon. My heart sank because it wasn't like my son to stay out all night. So I told him, call his cousin, make sure he's not with him. I remember being so distracted I couldn't recall my computer password. So I asked my supervisor for permission to leave. It was just past 9 a.m. when I received the phone call from Tracy telling me that our son had been shot and brutally murdered. He said that a police officer had come to the door and asked to see a picture of Trayvon. He said after he showed him the picture that he pulled a photograph from a folder that he was carrying. It was Trayvon lying dead on the ground. I insisted that he go look at the body. I called my mother, and the words just fell from my mouth. Trayvon, he's been shot and killed. My eyes were so full of tears, I couldn't see the road in front of me. God, I called on you for strength. I was so overwhelmed that I had to pull over on the side of the road. Lord, I asked you to help me. I was in bed for several days, unable to eat, unable to bathe, unable to concentrate on anything except for Trayvon. Does Black life matter? My baby's body was in that morgue, tagged and listed as John Doe. Despite the fact that he had a cell phone on him with our numbers in it, no one from the police department attempted to call us and tell us that our child had been brutally murdered in the neighborhood complex where his father lived. When George Zimmerman walked into that courtroom, it was with the presumption of innocence. My child was not afforded such luxury. My child's identity, his character, all called into question by law enforcement, some media, and everyday people in ways that transformed the trial of George Zimmerman into the trial of my son, Trayvon Martin. The trial was not about George Zimmerman, who had an arrest record. The trial was not about George Zimmerman, who had telephoned the Sanford Police Department some 46 times reporting suspicious activity among Black males. The trial was not about George Zimmerman, who was told not to follow my son, but he did. The trial was more about Zimmerman's lawyer portraying my child as a thug who deserved to die at the hands of his client. The trial was not about a grown man following, chasing, and murdering a child. There was an attempt to quell support from my family. The defense tried to have us permanently removed from the courtroom. I wanted to believe that my son's life mattered. I wanted to believe that there would be justice for my son. I miss him every day, and every day I pray for my son who was taken away. He was such a part of me. Why couldn't he let him be? Now he's nothing more than a memory. I'm asking why my son, Lord, why my son? Why my son? Why my son? Please tell me why my son, Lord, why my son? Why my son? Why my son? I can't hold him in my arms, protect him from all harm, or kiss him goodnight, tell him everything's all right. Is there some purpose I can't see that will ease my agony? Tell me, how could they set that man free? I'm asking why my son, Lord, why my son? Why my son? Why my son? Please tell me why my son, Lord, why my son? Why my son? Why my son? Why